And welcome to Black Coffee Conversation. We are here once a month here. Bridges Live presents Black Coffee Conversation with real men talking about real issues that affect their lives. I'd like to welcome everybody, Dr. David Woody and Charlemagne and Russ Webb. Thank you, everyone, for joining me in Black Coffee Conversation. We know our brothers are always busy doing things. We heard Russ is out of the country. So let's catch up to date. I know that down in where Woodsy is, there's issues going on. I do want to bring that up because, well, I know that I'm drawing a blank, Woodsy. What's going on down there in your area?
Short and sweet, we had a situation in the schools where a teacher in a fifth grade class pretty much did George Floyd reenactment. Now, how full of a reenactment is unclear, but there was no touching, there was no knees, there was nothing like that. And so when the school did the investigation, they found that something did happen. So that's where we're at right now. So basically, they brought me in to have another voice that they don't understand. I think it would be not a wise move for them to do it without a voice of a person of color to tell them what's going on and show them how to communicate better and what that means for a person of color. So that's where we're at right now.
What was your understanding about the reenactment? Was they trying to do a teaching lesson? Was this like it wasn't a spoof, like some type of fraternity spoof. It was just something. What do you think, as far as what you know, until you have the conversation? I know you don't want to speculate and push things out there, right. But did you hear anything they thought it was and they just got misinterpreted?
No, I don't fully understand what's going on or what happened at that time. So here's the thing. So with me, I don't want to like that. Aside from the job that I kind of took on with the school. So what I see me as is more like a conduit of progress. So right now at this point, we have entities that are willing to listen on A, what those next steps are, B, listen to perspectives and things, different perspectives and things like that. It's real hard when you live in a homogenous society like I do, or like Chad does. It's really hard, but they don't know what it's like to be a person of color, and I don't know what it's like to be a Caucasian. So what we have to do right now going forward is education. That was the big thing that I wanted to get across to most people, because, I'm Black, I'm a city councilman, I work in the entity where this happened. So usually when something comes up like this, they want communication. The next steps are communication and education. And that's pretty much where I come in. So the investigation and all that's for the school. That's for them. Where I come in, communication, development, education.
Go ahead, Wes.
No, I mean, I was just like, okay. I mean, but when they were doing the reenactment, was it involving another student of color, or was it just...
See, that part, I don't know. I don't know what the investigation, I just know what... we had a press conference, and I was there. And so from the statement, it was... we know what the district said was, we know that something happened, and it was not something that we intended to happen. And so we're gonna talk to Dr. David Woods on what those next steps are. We haven't had that formulated plan. that's still in the process. But
Well, I guess the question is was there a teacher there? Let's go with that. Okay, so there was a teacher there. It wasn't like these kids are just
no,
okay.
no, there was a teacher there. There was this fifth grade teacher there, and
So what has the teacher said? The teacher must have said something.
what do you mean, like post?
No, not post. Like, hey, did the teacher actually come up to you and say, "I know we haven't had this conversation, but I didn't mean it to be like that"? And I mean,
No, because the teacher's on administrative leave.
okay.
So I mean, it's crazy because I don't have inside information. I know that something happened. It wasn't what was intended. Whatever that interpretation was with teacher, with parent, with all these people, like I don't know. It would just all be speculation. What I do know is that understanding, communication, education, those things, they have to be paramount. Because what we don't want teachers afraid to teach, right?
Right.
But we live in this homogenous place, which is growing steadily diverse, both ethnic and all ways. North Dakota is getting steadily diverse, and so the need for people to stand up and say, "Hey, this is how things should go going forward," is paramount right now. And so in this city, for the district and for some other entities, that's me and a couple of others.
I want you guys to welcome James Spearman. He is a retired 33-year-old police officer, veteran police officer in Annapolis, Maryland. Still putting his hand in the pot, doing some community stuff, mentoring stuff. He's a real good guy. Invite him on for Black Coffee Conversation. Us to just talk about what we want to talk about, right? So I want you guys to welcome James Spearman.
Hey, James.
How you doing? What's going on, brother? What's going on, brothers? Thanks for having me.
Hey.
I know when Chad had posted something on Facebook, I've known Chad a long time. Davey, you've known him a long time. And to see Chad he is an emotional person. He's a very feeling person. But he was so hurt by what's going on with police officers and what's going down there that he really felt the need to push this post out there. And we had talked about that a month ago, about just expressing that we're not okay. When we're not okay, we got to be okay with black men saying, I'm not okay. I'm not okay with this. I'm saddened by this, and I'm not okay by it. I'm not saying we won't work through it or talk with a professional, but I'm glad that he did that, because that's am I right, Woodsy? I mean, that's exactly what we talked about last month. But go ahead, Charlamagne.
Yeah, no, I was just elaborating. It's sad. I've been following, what's been going on, and it's hurtful. We got an issue here going on in Elizabeth City. It's about 2 hours from me. So it was just like the comments continue to rise. And we're just trying to figure out how to fire extinguisher to try to put it out. That's the problem.
What's going on down there?
They killed a gentleman serving a warrant probably about 2 weeks ago. And basically, the individual was trying to flee, and they opened fire onto the individual, basically saying that he tried to run over one of the law enforcement officers. However, with the body cam footage, no one was ever in the direction of him fleeing. So therefore, they just opened fire on him, openly. And then they said we had protests and everything down here. Attorney Crump has been in the area. It's been pretty bad the last 2 weeks, 2 or 3 weeks.
So let me get this straight. The officer said that he tried to run him over.
Right.
But
that was their initial statement.
Okay.
And when Crump came, the first body cam footage was only 20 seconds of footage. And they finally released the footage, I think Wednesday of this week, May 12th. That it was more to it. It was basically like an ambush.
Mm.
So he matter of fact, the verdict of George Floyd came out one day, and this individual, this happened like I think 2 days after that.
So the people that's been down there, how are they feeling? What is the feelings like?
Feelings is just, what happened to protect and serve? It's like what happened to the judicial system to allow us to have our day in court. Now it's more or less like street justice. It's almost becoming that, and people just frustrated. It's like, another unarmed gentleman. He's gone because it was the first thing. He had weapons in the car. He was a drug dealer. It was a drug offense they were serving a warrant on. Needless to say, it's neither here nor there. What he done. He wasn't a violent criminal, from what I understand. It was just a drug activity, and like I said, the crime is high. Especially with the law enforcement, because the Elizabeth City demographics, I want to say the population is maybe 5,000, if that. It's small area, and it's HBCU there, Elizabeth City State College, and so that's the bulk of the community is minority, and the law enforcement is, on the other hand, is not the same. It's majority Caucasian. So, therefore, that instance, and like I said, it's a town in Borders, Virginia. It's not a whole lot going on there, but yeah, that was just the climate's really high right there.
Yeah, James, I know what do you got to think on that? I know it's we can't talk about the specifics, but what are your thoughts on that, James?
I'm not familiar with the case or the specific incident, but what I would like to say in general is my frustration is that I don't understand when as Black America and we as Black males start to take control of our own communities, take control of our own towns. If you recall in Ferguson, when Mike Brown was killed, they discovered that Ferguson was 80% Black, and the police department was 90% white. I think that's crazy, and I don't understand. And it's just not Ferguson; it's all over the place, and I'm just not understanding why we don't have more blacks in law enforcement. That's not to say that that's the end all be all, because I know Black officers who are just as bad as white cops too. But if you have more blacks within the agency or within the system, you certainly can have an influence on the culture. That's I had a conversation with some kids. I spent a lot of time with kids, and they asked me why I wanted to be a cop, or why would I ever be a cop. And the statement that I made to them, it was about 7 of them. And I said, well, which one of y'all want to be a cop? And none of them raised their hand. And I said, and you'll be the first one crying about having an all-white police department. And so, I mean, when are we going to step up and do what we need to do? And we already know what the outcome's going to be when you have that situation. You're bringing people in to your community who doesn't understand your community, and they don't feel they need to understand the community.
Yeah, I don't know. What do you need? A little bit of light. You're getting darker and darker. Yeah, I know.
Who, me? I don't know what's going on.
You just turned into a new melanin issue.
I know. Crazy right now. I don't know if the light went.
You need to hire somebody. Get a booth.
Yeah. Okay. Hold on.
Okay.
I'll be.
When we talk about, and I want to get into so many things I really want to talk about, because for a month, it seems like from the last month to this month, We have Israel, Palestine, right? The PLO. There's been we have midterm elections are coming up. There are things we're moving, and I don't know if we as people are moving fast enough. That's my concern as black men. Are we moving fast enough to be better at making a difference?
No, we're not.
Well,
not only are we not moving fast enough, we're not even in the right areas to make a real improvement.
Mm-hmm.
Because until we get a handle on teenage pregnancy, until we get a handle on abortions, and until we get a handle on health care and nutrition and all of the things that are important to our community and it's important to human beings, any other change that we make is all for naught. I mean, quality education, all of those things. A black man should not feel unsafe in a black neighborhood. I mean, that's ridiculous. Yeah. You know, we have to learn how to respect each other and treat each other right. And you know, what good was it to have a black president when we're still dominating the prison population and we're still dominating the school dropout rate? You know, our young girls are having, not only they having multiple kids at teenage years, they're having multiple kids by multiple boys. And then on the back end, the girls will sit there and say, well, I want him to be a man. Well, I mean, that's not what he was looking for when he slept with you.
Right. He was probably just more looking for comfort.
Mm-hmm.
You know, a release.
Yes.
Not a relief, but a release.
Yes,
and
absolutely.
I think there's a thank you. There you go,
Mm-hmm.
And I'm better.
Yeah. When a young
brother.
When a young black man, I mean, you know, sex as a young person anyway, they're more looking for release,
mm-hmm.
and they're not even have the aptitude of looking to heal themselves because they still got issues they're going through, and we know kids are having sex, right? It's not like black people are the only teenagers having sex.
Not at all.
Then my curiosity is looking at the numbers. How come it's the only black young girls, the only one getting pregnant at a high rate? That's confusing.
It's because it's a generational thing. There's not enough wisdom in the household. I know here in some of the neighborhoods that we have, the majority of the head of households are females, and they're getting younger and younger. They don't want big mom, you know. And I got a niece who's 43 years old, and she got 23 grandchildren.
That is speechless. I mean,
the numbers speak for themselves. I know a young girl who's 19, and she got 3 kids by 3 different dudes. And then when you go to speak to some of these young ladies about it, they take offense to it. They don't want to hear it. I was called a misogynist and whatever other term. I was talking to one young lady who was having lunch and everything, very beautiful girl, and we got into the similar conversation, and I told her that we have to start having more responsible conversation towards sex and this, that, and the other. And I said that young ladies have to be taught to be more responsible with their bodies and not be so quick to have abortions. And then that's when she went into I have a right to do what I want with my body. And that's fine. You do. You absolutely do. And you're going to pay the price in the end.
Mm-hmm.
I don't even know if that's a real argument. I have the responsibility to do it my own. But I mean, I know the statement, but I'm not sure if it's an answer to to me, it's not. You're not answering what I asked you. You know what I mean?
Correct.
I asked you a question, and you're giving me this.
Yes.
There's no correlation to your response.
No. So the only way I shut her up was when I told her that over time, the long-term effects of having multiple abortions goes against the female. And then she's well, I have no studies or no information above that. And to substantiate that, I said, oh, you don't? I said, how about black women are leading patients for hysterectomies? And that shut her up completely. But again, to what you just said, there was no substantive response at that point. It just completely shut her up, and that's not what I was trying to do. I was trying to, yes, just try to give her something to think about. That's all.
How do we activate the black male population or the black community population? Because we've had, Biden just got elected, January, not just got elected, but he's already been through his 100 days, right? Like I said, we're already talking about midterm election. Most states, I know Maryland, we have a governor race coming up in 2022. 2021 is over. You know, if we think about election, I always think about election and candidates and things. There's a cycle, you know, and that wave is about ready to kick high and then run fast into 2020, 2022, where we have to elect officials, city commissioners, all of us, right, all around the area for whoever to make a difference in our school boards and all this coming up. And we are still struggling with Charlemagne's talking about a cop running over a black boy who's used to sell drugs, and we're upset about that. But we're missing the back end of it, right? We're missing, okay, you're still arguing, screaming about this, and yet they're electing people that you don't want elected, or you don't even know who's being elected because you're upset about this. And yet they're pacifying you with this, another check supposed to be coming your way. And not enough jobs are being filled, but people are still stuck in unemployment. Like we're a little bit off as a country, and then as a people, we're really on the side. We're almost like the Titanic. We're like leaning with a hole in it. We're like this, you know. Who's going to come save us? No one's going to come save us.
Which is where, you know, my situation is, you know, is a little different because now I am that city council, you know, so I'm that person that's there. If they're going to get a perspective, someone's got to be up there. And I'm just saying, you know, in this community, let it start with me. But that has to be widespread. I mean, we're still dealing with people of color not filling positions that need be. So in my community, I'm the only black male I'm the only black person that is a teacher. And when I was in Fargo, I was the only black person that was a teacher. So, and I know the police, like the Fargo Police Department and police department around here are looking for people of color big time. It's becoming so diverse that the languages are different now. You know, you got to speak multiple languages. We're getting there. And so all these entities, especially the public entities, are looking for people of color to step in. They want it. So the situation is a little different in North Dakota. There's just not enough of us stepping in.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's different, and I'll tell you why. Because even when we talk to the Black Caucus, right, James, we're looking for qualified candidates to fill positions that are open. There are some issues we have with qualified candidates are applying and they're being kicked. That's different. But we still don't have enough filling positions that are open or applying. They're not applying. So we still have that issue. Yeah.
It's getting to the point. I know in bigger cities in North Dakota where they're going into the colleges saying, "Look, we need you." I mean, we are there now where they're going straight into the colleges, teaching, for example, because I could speak for that. Straight to the colleges. police, they're going straight to the academies. Like, hey, come back here. But here's the thing, and I always stress this. So I came here to play football, right? To play football and to throw, track and field.
Mm-hmm.
But I always came with the intent of going back home and changing my own community. So that, I think that's the part, at least in North Dakota, Minnesota, I think that's the part that's being missed, is that when people come here, especially of color, they want to go back and change their community. I wanted to go back and be superintendent of schools, big time. Mm-hmm. Now, a lot of time, they'll go back, like me. I went back, found out, well, there's a little more politics than what I thought when I was younger. I don't know if I want to raise my family in this community, and then I still come back, right? Okay, so we don't have enough of those. And what I stress to a lot of people, especially black males in school, is, look, when you cross over the border to North Dakota, a lot of those statistics, they go out the window.
They do.
They go out the window. I mean, there are people writing checks for you to go to college. And there are people who are coming to the colleges saying, hey, stay, please stay. That's the only reason why I think it's different, because, they're begging people to come here. Now, the other side of that is there's not a full understanding that the minority of black is not monolithic. So you're inviting a full society here. It's going to enrich your society, but not every person is a David Woods. You know what I mean? You're gonna have, and even David Woods is different depending on when and where you see him. Like, I might be counselor David Woods one spot, might be Dr. David Woods in another spot, and I might be wearing J's and talking crap to you on the court in a different spot. And it's real difficult for them to see all of that sometimes. And I think exposure, communication, and all that is key.
Yeah, I like what you said about exposure, because on the 19th of June, my boys group, we're taking our kids to Puerto Rico for a week to give them some exposure to a whole nother culture and a whole nother territory, and be on an island and see the different types of foods and the different types of people and history and the rainforest and all of that stuff. So many of our kids are missing out on that experience, and that's why college and military are so important, because they get a chance to. One of the kids that I mentor, he's already been to, he's a junior in college. He's been to Ecuador. He's been to Italy. He's been to France, Spain, Germany, Canada, and a couple of other places that I can't think of off the top of my head. So, so those are the things that we need. We need to enrich our children as much as we can.
Hey, so Dr. Dyer, I like playing devil's advocate. So I've sent my son. He went to England with the group when he was like 12. My kid is well versed traveling. Now, flip side of that, like Dr. Wood said, he went there to play football. I'm not saying that you they kind of sucked you in to staying, per se, in a sense. You know what I mean? I'm just using that loosely. Now, it's a lot of us, we expose our people to other things, but like I said, it's like once you expose them to it,
they leave.
They're like, it's better life. It's a vacant lot. You know what I'm saying? So then it's nothing to fill that vacant lot. So with the exposure, so we expose them to we expose them to good sometimes that we forget. Okay, it's bad things out there as well. So we expose them to the bad as well to show them, say, hey, where you living at is not so bad compared to. You know what I'm saying? Because but that same son of mine, he went to the Dominican Republic after the hurricane, and he came with a whole mentality. It was totally different.
That's right.
About just simple things as water. You know what I mean? So with that exposure thing, do we, when we visit those places and show our kids those different things, should we show them the bad as well?
Yes.
Because in an aspect of it, we always want to show them, hey, people living like this, people living like this, but we never show them the people that's across the tracks.
That's right.
Not in the tourist areas. We always show them the good things.
Well,
so
when we talk about
we create these vacant lots though in our communities because we're leaving and we're exposed to things, but we don't come back and plant seeds in those lots.
that's the other side. So, like, let me unpack that real quick. So when you speak of exposure, when I speak of exposure, when I speak of exposure, it is good and bad. Like you're gonna, it is good and bad. It was not. It was a very slow process to be acclimated, to be assimilated to this where I'm at right now. It was a very slow process, which also involved the possibility of me leaving after my first year. Went through a lot of things my first year. Culture shock, basically, big time culture shock. But when I went back, and then I found out that things were there was more to the story than what I knew. And then when I left, it wasn't like turn my back. You know what I mean? And I think sometimes with successful Black males, especially, a lot of times we're quick to say, like, you turned your back, you didn't reach your hand down. When in fact, I am. Like, if you look at how I represent my neighborhood, it's there. Right. It's there. Like I have a shirt that says "Just the Kid from Mountain View" and all that other stuff. 'Cause that's my neighborhood. That's where I grew up, and I feel like through that is how I'm repping my hood. I'm reaching back and saying, "Look, there's diamonds back there where I'm from, and there are diamonds where I came from. Lots of pressure and made a lot of diamonds." But sometimes I just want to say, like, we got to look at what reaching back means.
Yeah,
it's very subjective.
Right, that's the thing.
Yeah, you know what I mean. So
right, yeah, that's what I said. Is sometimes reaching back, it's like, should we relieve ourselves of all our things we work hard to receive to give back and reach back? You know what I'm saying? It's like, so what you're stuck in that middle. Like, I purchased a house in November. Our population I live at is kind of, the vision is really bad. So I was upset I couldn't spend the money for my home in a predominantly Black area and feel I could come home and be, go travel, and I come back and, I'd be like coming to America, people selling my things.
You got people walking out of your house like, "Oh, what are you doing?"
But that's the realization of it. I live beside a law enforcement officer. He's a city law enforcement officer, and then the other one, he works for a college. It hurt me. I tried to have minority support all through the process of my home purchase. The only thing, I wasn't able to make that purchase in a community where it was a large majority population. Now, we're sprinkled throughout. It's one on every cul-de-sac. But, it's, out of 500 homes, there may be 30 of us out there.
So here's the thing. I know and this is probably this is a great conversation. I know for Black men specifically, I'm not sure if Black women go through this type of thought process as much as Black men, as far as where do I go back to, or where do I stay, or where do I go to? We have three things: go back to, go to, or stay. Because those are our thoughts, because we move across the plains like food. Where is the best eating for me to graze and then for me to grow, right? Because I bet you if I put all five of us in a different place, as uncomfortable it might be for a time, we would go like, okay, get it together, let's make this work, and let's put some work in so I can develop something. That's what the Black man's able to do throughout history. Right? Throughout history, we're able to be like, okay, all right, I guess I got to make it my own. You know what I mean? And as you wrap in your shirt, but I'm going to be here. If I'm going to be here, I'm not going to complain. I'm not going to complain, but I'm going to make a difference. That's what we are.
I agree. I will just say this though, like the black woman has gone through their own history. Because when you look at it, yeah, we moved around, but who was that rock? Black woman, right? Yeah. So and then they went from that rock to like, wait a minute, I can own this. Like I can own this company, and that was kind of that movement that they went through, where it was like, you know, maybe I don't need a man. So they went through their own kind of exploration process, and they're still navigating that. I'm often impressed at how black women have taken that on, and you know that's kind of that's a talking point within the black community itself. But I see black women more and more continuing to do that as well. So it's kind of just everybody trying to find their footing on where we need to be. Now, don't forget when black women were after college, a lot of them were teachers, and a lot of them went back home
to teach.
Yeah, to teach. So that's what I mean. It's a navigation that is very impressive. It's hard to figure out, but yeah.
But do you think it's too much pressure on us for us? Because just by generalization, success means dollars in our communities. So
I actually, my kickback is I think success means safety.
Yeah, I mean, but you know, as our community as a whole, typically, if you're not driving the Benz, the Lexus, the nice Range Rover, I think typically in our communities, that's why a lot of our kids gravitate to the drug dealers, because that's what they feel is successful. You know, and that's why I said I think that's why we travel and leave our communities, because sometimes it's a safety net, but sometimes I think it's that net of us seeking clarity from our peers as being successful by having the nice rides, the nice clothes, and things of that nature. But
we've seen people who live in housing projects who get out and get in a Cadillac, and you're like, bro, what are you doing? Like, it's an economic
issue. This
issue.
is the 40, but this is the 40, 50-year-old us talking. This is not the 15, 16-year-old us that's impressionable. You see what I'm saying? Because when we're impressionable, you know, we wanted to fly J's. I mean, I had every pair of Jordans that came out when I was in high school. When I was in school, my mother busted her butt to get those Jordans for me, because she wanted me not to go out and envy another child. And that's why I said, it's like, just like what you were saying about the black women, sometimes they're embedded stuff in us that we don't even know they're embedded in us, because they wanted us to have the nice things. They want us to be, you know, socially accepted by our clothing, first of all, in our appearance. And then, like I said, she could have been living in low-income homes or whatever, but we're going to step out of that house looking fly. And that's how our impressionable state is. And like I said, I try to revert back to my impressionable years when I was, 11, 12. Now I look at the dudes driving the Mercedes, I'm like, oh, that's a nice ride. You know, but now I could care less what I drive, as long as it gets me point A to point B. And I think that's what with West, 100 Black Men, is that what you guys try to divert and show that it's more to life than just having those intangible things?
Yeah, with the 100 Black Men, we're addressing issues that are pretty much across the plane of, like, economics, health and wellness, education, and these type of things, because they're dealing with all kinds of social issues, and of course, Black women being primarily the head of household, there are some things there that we have to really unpack and help young Black boys understand what it is to be a Black man and those type of things. And sometimes that's just really hard. And because the thing is, as they say, all black men aren't created equal. And, and I will say, hey, look, there are some issues that these kids are dealing with that I'm not equipped to deal with because, once again, I don't have that type of exposure. But the one thing is, what I look to do is I look to bring guys in who I know that can, in that aspect, and then we start to work together, in that aspect to see how we can address the issue at a whole in that aspect. Because the thing is, where it's key, where it comes to us is, how do we use those resources? As black men, we have different resources, and when we're looking to help out and within the community, and that's where my angle is at, because I do recognize there are some issues where some will not be able to be reached if we don't have a different groups of black men in, because this is an all I call it all hands on deck type effort.
Right.
You might have the Wall Street guy who's going to be reaching out to corporate to make sure that some of that money is going to be coming into those black communities where they need the help and everything. And also, like you guys talk about with the young black boys, getting them the exposure, getting them out of the neighborhoods to show them that there is something that's different, that they've strived to be better, that they're not those kids that are going to end up on the corner selling drugs for those older guys and stuff and everything. Because, if they don't have that type of exposure, they're only going to have that one track mind. Because with the 100 black men, they have that motto: what they see is what they'll be. And if we don't change that dynamic, for those neighborhoods and everything, and help those mothers, then we are truly falling down on the job.
I remember I got two stories about exposure. Now, I lived in North Dakota for over 20 plus years, but I came from the New York Bronx to Rockland County, Spring Valley. So one of my sons, when he got to be about, I think he was 11. No, he was 10. Yeah, he was 10. So I took him back home to where my mother was living, where I kind of did my junior high school years and did all my balling and all that stuff, right? And never forget, it was just like a Saturday. It was like 8 o'clock at night, 8 p.m. It was summertime because we were on school break. So I said, come on, let's go. And we jumped in the car, beautiful summer night, right? And we rolled onto, it's called Memorial Park, right? In the middle of, it's a hood park, right?
Mm-hmm.
We get there. It's about 9:30 because we stopped off and ran to some people. 9:30. The park courts are packed, right? Kids sitting on balls waiting for next, right? Now, he had talked about wanting a ball. He had started balling, right? And I said, we sat there probably till about 11:30. Kids just like yoking it. Voila, right? And I said, how old do you think that kid is? And he's like, I bet he's like 30 or 20. I'm like, no. I said, go ask him. Go over there. He goes, he looked at me because there was nothing but, because he's coming from North Dakota, come from Fargo, North Dakota, playing in, and he goes, I said, go ahead and ask him. He looked at me like, I don't know this, I said, go ask him. He's like, excuse me. He's like, what do you want, little man? What do you want, little man? He goes, how old are you? He goes, 16. And he come back, right? And I said, what did he say? He said, he's 16. He's big. I said, this is all these kids got. They're out here trying to do their game because from here is maybe something else, right? You have an opportunity in Fargo to ball, get a great education, and do anything you want without this hanging over your head or the possibility of getting killed. Now, I'm not saying where you live, because I used to laugh at when they used to call fouls at his games. And I'm like, that's a punk foul, right? Where I come from, that ain't no damn foul. You better roll up on somebody, right? You better put somebody in there. You better, I grew up at like Rucker Park, where we used to go play ball down there, and you'd be like, you yoke someone down, you'd be like, yo, this is it, and bounce, right? But here you can't do that in North Dakota. It is like, what? You're like, what? So there's a whole different game. But what I want you to get is that kid, you're going to meet him at another level at some time. You may not be high school because he's over there, but it might be in college.
Mm-hmm.
And if you want to go to that next level, you will meet that guy that came from that place who has that attitude that's trying to eat. And that's why when they do all this, they're getting paid to eat. This is bank money. That's what all this is. When they be like this, that's money. I'm eating. You just paid a bill. I ran you over, and you just paid a bill. And so he took that as exposure, not to diss Fargo, but to understand he can bring his game up to another level. The back end to that, I have a second story. So I leave for the military, come back on leave. A guy I played ball with who was a good ball player, he got accepted to, his grades wasn't that well, but he got accepted to a junior college. And the next time I come back out of service, I stop over the bus stop, and he's all cracked out. So he could have left, didn't. The community ate him up, and now he's teeth are gone. I mean, he was a mess, right? And I looked at him like, did I know him? And I was like, oh, shoot, right? Because he's a mess, right? And I was like, oh, man. And then I ran to somebody, I said, did you know, blah, blah, blah? Oh, yeah, he's been that way for a couple of years now. So I don't know how to feel about leaving, not coming back, staying. It doesn't give me conflict, but it hurts me to know that who's ever in whatever community doesn't do better to make a difference. That is what bothers me.
Yeah. Like I said, it's a tough situation.
Yeah.
It's tough for all of us because, like I said, you could have been that dude. You could have been that guy. Possibly. And like you said, without exposure, military exposed me to a lot of things. And it allowed me to see different cultures and different, ways to live it. And, it helped me out a lot in the long run. And like you said, when I come home and leave, same thing. Guy that was rushing for 1,000 yards, he's like a soup pig now. You're like, what happened?
Yeah. And he's like, nothing.
I mean, that's a tough one, and that's what I said. It's like, but I think, when we come home, you see these vacant lots. And like you said, when things like that happen, I consider that a vacant lot also because somebody vacated him.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? In a sense. So how do we...
But did I vacate it? You know what I mean? Right, yeah. Like, should I feel like, man, like you said, I could have been that guy that said, hey, Mike, let's do this instead of you doing that. But that's why it works. Like I said, no matter where I'm at, no matter what community I'm at, I'm going to put my hand in the dirt to build something, to make it grow, not for me, but for them and for the next.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Build for the next. Build for now and build for the next. That's how I feel. And you guys know that just about me, but everyone, I don't know if we're doing enough to build for now and build for the next. No matter what small neighborhood we live in, to the township we live in, to the county we live in, to the state we're in. We're not doing enough, and it's moving faster without us, and we're getting left behind. Because I think this election opened up maybe we went like this when Trump left for whatever reason, right? 70 million people voted for him. So what are you doing this for? What's all this? Woo? You got 70 million people out there that voted for him. That means, think about it. If you didn't vote for him, that's still 70 million people against you.
Right.
Do the numbers. Work the numbers. The numbers are not on your side. So what's all this? Woo! We got out of that one. No, you didn't. You put yourself in fire is what you did.
I think that we as Black people have to start realizing that we have our own issues separate and distinct from American society. And I think we have our priorities as a whole mixed up. Like I was telling Dr. Paul, I was coaching football and basketball before the pandemic hit. And I would get in conflicts with fathers because they would never show up to practice. They would show up to the game and want to know why his son's on the bench. And it's like, well, your son didn't come to practice. Your son's not listening. Your son's not doing this. He's not doing that. But he runs fast. I can't do nothing with another fast kid. I'm sorry. Your kid's not listening. And then you have the mothers who have it planted in their minds that their kid's going to be the next Bron, or they're going to be the next Zeke, or he's going to be Michael Vick, or whoever you want to throw in the mix. And they don't have any idea how the game goes. They just know their kid is good because somebody told them so. I had one young man who was playing one position, and mother came up to me, "Why'd you move my son to safety?" I said, "Because he runs fast and he hits hard." "Well, I want him to play over here." I said, "Well, I can't use him over there." And she just looked at me, and then she's like, "Well, I don't think you know what you're doing." I said, "Well, I mean, this is free. I'm not getting paid for this. You asked me the question, that's the answer." And I said, maybe if your son would pay attention, maybe if he would come to practice on time, maybe if he would do what he's told, maybe if he would keep his mouth shut, maybe if he would stop trying to tell me how the game of football goes, then maybe he could probably be in that position that you want him in.
I almost want to put up you can say something if you checked 4 of these boxes. When's the last time you've been to a PT meeting? When is the last time you voted for a city election?
Yeah.
Now, I'm not talking about presidential, city election.
Yes.
When is the last time you went to a housing economic education meeting?
Yes. Yes.
When is the last time you mentored a child? If you check boxes out of these, you can come talk to me.
Right.
Right. Yeah.
Almost get like a card like this, just like this.
But it's true.
Just like here.
I used to coach AAU basketball, and that same thing. And it's like, you get into those confrontations with those parents, and it's like, dude, he really probably shouldn't even be on this team, but we need it. We needed some bodies to practice. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, we needed somebody on that bench. It's my other 5 getting tired.
Yeah. But yeah, it's tough, man.
Is that offensive if we came out with a card like that? I mean, as comical it is it offensive? Because I'm actually seriously thinking about it right now.
I don't consider it to be.
You don't think so?
I don't think it's offensive and everything. Once again, it comes back to exposure. You're just trying to live day to day. A lot of people are just distracted. That is not something that is on their radar sometimes, right. going to the PTA meetings or voting or whatever, especially when they're struggling. Those type of things is not something that, that's high on their priority list. But I would think it would be good as a reminder, when you're talking about making real community change and wanting to make certain things happen, it's a good reminder, because the thing is they have to make that correlation of what's happening here in your community has a direct impact upon their kids. And and sometimes they're not. They're just trying to make sure that they got that paycheck, coming in.
Okay, let me ask you, and I understand this, because if I had to think about my mom, who worked, she was a single mom, worked 18 hours a day. She probably didn't show up. There's no way she was going to a PTA meeting. And my mom did care about education, but she wasn't, because she, between work and rest and travel to the city, she wasn't going. So here's my question. In this day and age, you can't make it. Would you reach out to someone so they could come explain it to you what did happen? Would you do that? Mm-hmm. I understand you may not make it, but that doesn't mean you don't care and you don't want to know. Mm-hmm. So I don't want to throw you out.
Yeah, It should be like when we was growing up. It was like a village. I stayed with my aunt one night. I stayed with my cousin one night. I stayed with my godmama one night. You know what I'm saying? So it should be a village. Like I said, if one can't make it, have a representative there to do it. And like I said, we don't have that connection a lot of times now, because it's like I can walk down the street and I try to redirect little Johnny. I say try to change his direction, and his mom, she's upset with me because I said something to little Johnny.
Yep.
She's not upset with little Johnny because he's out of control in the street. She's upset with me for trying to redirect and keep him from being in the system and doing something that is going to further jeopardize his balling career or his football or whatever. But she's mad at me because that's my child. I know what my child is doing. No, you don't know what your child is doing. And like I said, we got to get that village mentality back in our communities as well.
Well, that's why black churches are so powerful overall. You see a lot of the clergy when they're leading those type of community issues and stuff and keeping those mothers informed, but that's still a pretty heavy lift though for any to be doing.
It's one of those things where, like, what I'm hearing is accountability. And even when we're talking about carrying that card around, right now we have a problem with being checked.
Yes.
And in the past, people check you. Like you said, community's a village, right? So if I walk down and I steal 25-cent candy, I'm walking down the street, Miss Johnson's going to check me. Johnson's going to check me, and I better respect her. And my mom and dad are like, yo, that's Miss Johnson. Like, you trying to say she's lying? She ain't lying. And then if I was disrespectful there, then they would check me. And, there was a time where we checked each other and we checked on each other. And I think that accountability piece is like, whoa, don't you dare tell me how to raise my child. That's my child. Like, I do this for my child without any consideration of what the village is actually trying to do for your child. So I feel like the accountability piece is weak.
What if we asked them? What if we asked them and says, "If I'm not trying to tell you for your child, but if your child gets shot, would you want me there at your protest?"
Yeah, I mean, you try to cause a riot. You try to cause a fight right now. No, I mean that's realistically what it comes down to is it's these choices. Like, which one is your child going to choose? And I feel like I can't speak for North Dakota. I feel like in North Dakota, a lot of minorities, a lot of black children are having to make that choice. Mm-hmm. Do they go when they feel that they are successful? Do they feel that they are losing a piece of themselves due to that success? And I fight over that all the time. Am I the same? Like, I'm just going to say it like it is. Am I still the same hood brother?
Right.
Can I walk down my neighborhood and everyone still give me that?
No.
And so when people see me, they're like, yo, that's Brian Gumble over there. So, because that's what they used to say. That's Brian Gumble over there. Nah, you ain't trying to tell me nothing. So I actually have to code switch in order to talk to people. And in order to get that accountability piece into some people, you have to code switch. But it's multifaceted. There's a lot of layers there. But I know, just like I said, when I look at those things, when I look at children, I see choices. That's my way of reaching back. But trying to then go to that next level and maybe tell mom and dad, like, yo, check your son. This is what I see. This is what's going to happen. And them internalizing that and accepting that and saying, hey, that's a weakness. I need help with that. Can you help me? Absolutely. That's not where we're at right now.
Yeah.
I think the dynamic that we have to face and we have to try to wrestle with is the fact that the average mom is now 16 years old. So if that child is 10, mom is 26, and now you're trying to explain to this 26-year-old why you're checking her 10-year-old son. And so at the same time, she might be 26 years on this earth, but her mentality and mindset is not 26. It's probably still around 18 or 20 because she's spending so much of her formative years as an adult.
Yeah, raising a child.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's where the communication breaks down, and you have to try to figure out how to communicate that information to the person. I've had young women just bombard me with questions because their fathers are not in their lives.
Right.
And by me having 3 daughters and used to being able to communicate with girls, I mean, they wear me out. And it's like, oh, my God, I need a drink. Oh, Lord. And the things that you think that they should know, they just don't. And my pastor buddy, I said, well, who's going to tell him, Jimmy? Dyer gone. Well, why did you expect her to know that? Who told her? I'm like, yeah, I guess you got a point there.
Yeah, I have 2 daughters, and I have I drink wine right now. I didn't even like wine. I don't even like it. Now it's like, oh, what you talking about? What happened in school today? All right, let me just pop this.
Well,
you know, when Snoop Doggy Dogg has his own wine collection, it's okay.
Yeah. I ain't mad at that.
wow. Yeah.
Before we take off, I want to say, Woodsy, you put on some muscle.
I usually wear sweatshirts and stuff. I got 2 daughters, and they're young, and I know what my oldest daughter, she's in that time where boys are starting to look, and I gotta like roll it up and looking at there, son. Yeah, I'm not sure. As my wife says, this is for show. I ain't lifting nothing. It's for show.
Yeah.
What do you say? I can bring out 2 guns. This one or the one you don't see?
Yeah. I didn't even have time for all that working shift work. I had 2 Rottweilers. Told one boy, I said, you want to date my daughter? He said, yes, sir. I said, walk night train around the block. And come on back. I'll pay for the date. Bring my dog back.
Wow. Goodness.
I know I just did a body fat composition. I don't know if you guys saw it. 284 at 23% body fat.
Woo! Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, I see you out there at your gym, like no shirt.
Yeah.
Just look at me, all my glory. I'm impressed. I mean, I don't think this might all go south by the time I'm where you at. So real impressive. Just put that out there.
I don't think so. I don't think the civilization, and here's how I look at it. And this is really how I think about it. It's a military mental mind. If your body's not right, your mind's not right.
Mm-hmm.
And if your mind's not right, your life's not right. So how you want to get it right. So if you're feeling good this way, get the other part of your life right. Because you're going to be attacked on one of those levels anyway. It's either going to be spiritually, emotionally, physically. Yeah. So if you're not working them out, the attacks will hurt. And you're not going to be prepared for it.
Very true.
And it's okay to have a bad workout or to not make it all that often. But know this, don't hate yourself when you don't feel prepared for it. Because it's coming. It's here. If you read the news, it's been here. It's always here. That's what I'm saying. Do the numbers. I was doing a number information on the United States as a whole against the non-average person, right? People talk about neo-Nazis or strictly conservative white Catholics, right? All those other things. The numbers are real, right? Black America is only 37% of the population, right? That has an African black descent. It's the census. Unless you didn't fill it out, 37% of 338 million people. That's it. That's around roughly 42 million blacks. 56% of the men voted for Trump, right? So what is that? Still, even if you do something simple math and say there's 20 million black men, 20 million black women, right? 56% voted for Trump. They were probably businessmen, economic reasons, 401k, blah, 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 right?
Mm-hmm.
The other numbers, they say there's 22 million registered neo-Nazis. Got them out. 1 out of 10 white America believes in neo-Nazi views. That's another 10 million people. That's 32 million people who have the idea of neo-Nazi ways. That's over 90% of black population right there.
Right.
Who do you think you're living around? Right?
No, without a doubt.
And most of these people are in high level positions. They're not washing your car, right? You pull up to a car wash, they're not there. When you go to a food and get your food served, they're not there. They may be the manager, district manager. So where are the people that voted for Trump that you see on a regular basis? You don't see them because you don't have dealings with them because they're in different positions in the United States. They're in the judges. They're in high-level CEO management positions. Even if you put them in all of majority of white community in North Dakota, Montana, Utah, you still don't get 2 million. North Dakota only has 367,000 people total. Minnesota, the state, only has 3 million. No,
Wow.
more. Minneapolis has a million something. Yeah, it's only like 3.5, 4 million people in Minnesota. So even if you put them in the Midwest, they're all over Philly, Chicago, New York. They're in big cities. They're not in the States. You're thinking like, oh, they're out there. No.
No.
They're the bank officer who you have to get your loan from.
Mm-hmm.
And if he's not the bank officer, he's the bank president. The numbers are telling you we are in a position that we are going to have to defend ourselves economically, spiritually, mentally, emotionally. And we just can't go around getting all steamed up and rush and saying they did something wrong. You probably didn't do something right.
Mm-hmm.
Right. In your travels, and you guys' travels, have you ever realized that a lot of black people don't even really understand how complex racism really is?
Oh, yeah.
I feel like a lot of the definitions are mingled. I think a lot of them mean, like when a situation arises, a lot of it is discriminatory. A lot of them are by bigoted people. And sometimes it's just simple prejudices. So I find that the definitions often become synonymous in people's minds for those things.
They kind of just throw them all together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's our problem, because I find that I kind of broke it down into 4 different categories. You know, you have your violent extremists. That speaks for itself. Then you have your white supremacists. And then you have your white privilege, and then you have your oblivious ones. And once you start learning how to break it down that way, you may have your own categories, but you start to learn how to approach
People.
those situations and those people in a better, more tactical fashion. And when you start understanding, because I would say to people just what you said, I would ask the people who I mentioned this to, who do you think is the one who affects your life the most. And they would say the violent extremists. I'll say, well, no, that's the anomaly. That's the, those are the ones that
That's
come
what
up.
you see.
Yes. It's that white supremacist, the one who's behind the scenes. Because the white supremacist is the one who influences the violent extremist anyway. And that person is the one who's going to actively keep you from getting that bank loan, keep you from getting that promotion, keep you from getting that job, keep you from getting all the things that affect your everyday quality of life. Those are those ones that you have to watch out for, and they're behind the scenes and they're part of the system.
Mm-hmm.
And we tend, go ahead.
You don't know how many times I hear people, when I talk to people, they say, I work for my boss, he's looking for somebody, and there's all these applicants on his desk, but he has never looked at them because the person that works for them knows that if he hasn't looked at those files, but he already has someone in mind. You know what I mean? It's
Sure.
like, but you have all these people who, whoever they are, applicants on their desk, and they're like, oh yeah, I already have someone in mind, and make sure we send him the paperwork through HR. Those things happen more often than we can ever know.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And I'm not even sure that's what you say a white supremacist. That is a person who has white privilege who doesn't even think that he's doing something wrong. You know what I mean? That's the privilege I'm talking about. You're so oblivious to thinking that this is not fair that you're doing it. Right. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. That's why they're in a separate category, because the other ones, the other two, the top two, they're absolutely doing it.
Yeah.
Because they're doing it because of their cause. They actually have a cause.
Yeah, they have a purpose, right?
Yeah, but the bottom two, they're just going through life being white in their white world, in their white country, in their white neighborhood, doing what white people do. And there's really nothing wrong with that, from their standpoint. But you can't treat them the same way as you would a white supremacist. Because the message is, I'll give you a perfect example. This is one of my favorite stories. My wife has a real good friend, and she's white. She's Italian. She's down in Arizona now. One of my daughters became a model, and my wife's friend, Bernadette, spent thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars on my daughter's schooling, transportation, makeup, walking lessons, talking lessons, all of those things that models do. And I filed a lawsuit. I was part of a lawsuit against the police department I worked for, and it was in the paper. And she said to me, Jimmy, she said, did you ever stop to think that maybe the police department it's not their fault, they're having a hard time finding qualified blacks? So I said, well, yeah, you're absolutely right. They would have a tough time trying to find them. And she said, so what's the issue? I said, because they never go to Howard. They never go to Morgan. They never go to UMBC. They never go to Towson. They never go to UDC. They never go to Coppin, but they go to Salisbury. She's like, I never thought about it like that. They don't go to Maryland Eastern Shore. They pass 2 or 3 black colleges and go to the white ones. So you're right. Mm-hmm. They're going to have a tough time. She said, oh, my God, I'm so sorry. I never thought about that. Well, she's oblivious because she don't have to think about it. She ain't black.
Right. She didn't have to.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That doesn't make her a bad person.
No. All right, my brothers, enjoy your Saturdays. Have some wine. Right. Have a little bit of toss. Be good. Love your daughter's work. Congratulations, she broke the record. Or didn't she break the state record?
Who's that?
Your daughter. She was throwing.
Yeah, she's an 8th grader. She's throwing. She made the state championships, and she broke her middle school record. And she's doing big things.
Was she throwing javelin?
She's throwing the shot put, and she did all that at the shot put. And she's inching her way towards the discus, but we got 2 more meets before state, so we'll see what happens. You know me, I'm all on the outside. You know, you're like, that's very good job, and inside you're just like posting it on Facebook, and so
that's it.
I'm having a good time.
Cool.
I tell you, like I told one when I know she's such a 8th grader playing varsity basketball, James.
Wow.
Wait a minute, scoring title.
Wow.
Right, she's dropping 20 on them.
Wow. That is nice.
That's what's up.
That is nice. That's what's up.
That's
like
what's
that.
up, right?
Yes.
I saw the score. She had dropped 40 one night, right?
It was just 20. It was just 20, but she had a few. She had a few assists. She had like 8 rebounds, and
so I texted him. I said, "You need an agent because they're coming."
Yeah.
I said,
They gonna write.
they're coming.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
You did text me and say that. Yeah.
Connecticut's probably already going, we got a girl.
Maryland
Come
College
with
Park.
it. Come with your check.
Yeah.
Come with it.
Yeah, Maryland College Park.
Lady Yukon.
Lady Yukon. They're coming.
Yeah.
All right, brothers. Have a good night. Be safe. Please be safe.
Thank you.
Love
All
you.
right, man. Appreciate
See
you.
you guys.
Thank
All
you.
right, take care, folks.